Though he had a variety of symptoms during his short life, no one was able to diagnose the root cause. His medical care always involved a lot of head scratching on the part of the doctors. At about 14 months of age, it was discovered that Caleb's heart had enlarged to the point of no return. He was immediately flown to Lubbock, where he struggled for 3 days before going to be with the Lord. It was to this point the most difficult day of our lives. That's an excerpt from a personal message from the Hollies, from Greg Holly. I'm sure you're wondering what I'm talking about this time. This child that died of a vicious and terrible disease known as Barr syndrome. And so Barr syndrome was named after Dr. Peter Barth, who discovered the disease in 1981, published the first comprehensive description of Barr syndrome. And then 10 years later, Dr. Richard Kelly at Johns Hopkins published a further study, which really got some recognition for the disease. And I got that information from an article entitled Christopher's Story. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what Barr syndrome is exactly. There's just a quick statistic right there, 1 in 300,000 affected. Cardiomyopathy is a weakness of the heart muscles, usually resulting from an enlarged heart. That's one of the symptoms. Musculoskeletal underdevelopment, which means that their muscles don't develop like they should. You'll see a lot of these kids in the pictures all have Barr syndrome, and you can tell how scrawny they are because they just don't develop like normal children should. Growth delay. They typically end up reaching average size after, after a point where most people would have gone through puberty, but it's much more delayed. And then they have immunodeficiency issues, so they're constantly getting sick, they're constantly getting infections, they're having to take medications so that they can just stay alive. I know one child personally gives himself shots every other night in the stomach just so that his immune system will be able to protect him throughout the day. And how do you get it? Obviously, this isn't a communicable disease. This isn't something you can get from any kind of germs or viruses. It's inherited genetically from a deficient tafazin gene on the X chromosome, which means that only boys get it, really. Theoretically, a girl could get it, but what happens is, obviously, if you're a boy, you have an X and a Y chromosome. So if your mother was a carrier, you got passed on this X chromosome that had the tafazin mutation, and so you have it. But if you're a girl, typically you would have another X chromosome that had a good tafazin gene, so you wouldn't be affected by the disease. For a girl to have this disease, Barr syndrome, she would have to have a father that was affected by the disease and a mother who was a carrier. So it's kind of rare for it to happen that way. Awareness. How many of you here had heard of this disease before I talked about it today? Okay, one person. So, and that's actually very impressive. But anyways, it shows that not many people have heard about this, and there's obviously a need to spread awareness. Need for research and assistance. There's no known cure at this time. There's medications to help deal with the side effects, but not a medication for the disease itself. They have heart conditions, heart problems, and like I said, problems with their immune system. So there's medications to help deal with that, but no medication to treat all the symptoms. To give assistance for this, to donate money has allowed for groundbreaking research like Heart on a Chip, which is this really crazy thing they did. They used to have a need for stem cells. Well, to harvest stem cells, they would have to have like a fetus, and it was all controversial. But there's this new research. They can take any cell in the body and make it into a stem cell, and then the stem cell can become something else. So they took these defective heart cells from Barth boys by having stem cells, and they put it on a chip, and they grew heart tissue, and so they could observe and see how these heart tissues were not functioning properly, and so they could implement new research to try to fix it. There obviously need for monetary donations because many of these children need to have heart transplants and other expensive medical procedures. And as it says there on the bottom, diseases don't just choose wealthy families. So there's families that just aren't well off, and they have a child that has special needs, and what are they supposed to do? And so something that helps address this issue is the Barr Syndrome Foundation. And what the Barr Syndrome Foundation aims to do is facilitate research, increase awareness, help provide information for newly diagnosed families. So you have a child, they're sick, you don't know what's happening, you get this diagnosis and you've never heard of this disease before in your life, as many of you never had, and you don't know what to do. Well, this is a foundation where you can turn to get information, to get assistance. It's an accredited charity through the Better Business Bureau, and it was also rated a top nonprofit in 2014 by nonprofits.org or something. This foundation has really made leaps and bounds in research and giving resources to families who are affected by this disease. Before this foundation came to be, and before all this research came to be, boys would typically die before the age of 3, and now they're living much longer. There's some that are in their 30s, some that are in their 40s. So this group is really doing great things. And so you can make a difference. You have the ability to make a difference between life and death in children. You have the ability to make a difference so that you don't have to hear quotes like the one that I read at the beginning of this presentation. You can ensure the Bar Syndrome Foundation is not just a community, it's a family. So when you get involved with this organization, you hear the stories of these children, you fall in love. And they really capture your heart, and you help out and volunteer because it's what you want to do. I really encourage you. And so I'm sure you're wondering, how can I get involved? How can I make a difference? Well, the first thing you can do is visit the Bar Syndrome Foundation, barsyndromefoundation.org. As you can see, there's a button there where you can donate. They have a Twitter, they have a Facebook, so go and follow them, go and like their page, because that's a way to raise awareness. It takes literally no effort, no time, no money. And another thing you can do, if you have an Amazon account, you can go to Amazon Smile, and every purchase you make will donate a portion of the proceeds to whatever charity you choose. Bar Syndrome is one of those charities that you can choose. So I would encourage all of you to do that. Like I said, it's something that's very simple, takes no time at all, and it makes a huge difference in the lives of these children and the lives of their families. And that's all.